Hi, and welcome to my second tutorial. This time I'm going to be showing you how I build my terrain, my landforms and my mountains. So as you can see, I've got my piece of ballasted track here in front of me that we did on the last tutorial. It's all dried hard now. Out on the layout, I'd normally cover my track, but as I'm only doing a small hillside on this side of the track, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, building mountains and hills, there are, again, a lot of ways to do it. You can lattice, excuse my children in the background, you can lattice cardboard, you can use foam, polystyrene, yeah, there are many different methods. So I'm just going to run through the wet newspaper method that I use. I find it to be quick and easy. And yeah, I'll show you how I get to my results. So what we'll need is, of course, first of all, some newspaper. Now I've already scrunched up some, ripped up some pieces into small bits. To put that in, we'll need some water. So I've just got a bowl here with some water. On top of that, once we put it down, I've cut up some strips of paper towel. I won't be using plaster cloth. This is my budget alternative. And then of course, to cover it all, we're going to use plaster. Now you can use plaster of Paris or builder's plaster, any plaster that you like. I use what's known here as base coat 45, which is a plaster that takes 45 minutes to set. So it gives you more working time than plaster of Paris, which isn't very long at all. So I've got some of that mixed up there. Okay, so to start off with, I've done my outline here with pencil. You may or may not be able to see, just a little bit to the side of the track here. So we grab our first bit of newspaper and we just dunk it straight into the water, wring it out, get as much of the water out as we can, and then I'll shape it into the front of the hillside that I'm doing to start off with, and just place it down on our piece of ply there. Then we just keep going along. So I won't show you each time I dunk it in the water, but you know what I'm doing. I'm just dunking it into the water and wringing it out. Shaping it, putting it down, giving it a little bit of a squeeze. Just shaping the wet plaster there a little bit. And just keep going, build it up. Don't have to be too fussy. We just keep going until we get the shape and the size of the hill or mountain that we're working on. So this is a very budget method for doing it. And to get our height that we're after, we just keep scrunching up bits of newspaper, soaking it in the water, giving it a little bit of a squeeze to get the water out, shape it, and just keep building it up on top to form this ridge that I'm putting down here. Now at the moment, you're looking at the back, so I will turn it around when it comes to the next step. It just makes it a little bit easier for me to do it this way. Now I'm not going to go overly high with this one. Again, it's just a bit to show you the principle and the method, really. So there we go. We've got our wet newspaper scrunched up. Now it doesn't need to dry or anything like that. We can move straight on to the next step. So what I do is I get my plaster, and it is very messy. Get your fingers, and I just run a little bit of plaster over the top of my newspaper. Okay, I get a strip of my paper towel, and with the plaster that's on my fingers, I use that to just mold and shape the paper towel over the newspaper. Press it down. Thanks guys. Hold it. Again, excuse my kids in the background. Press it down So once we get our first bit down, we get our plaster, put a little bit over the top of that, like so. And as you can see, I've got some plaster down on the ballast and the track there already, so this is why I normally would cover it, especially on the layout, because you don't want to be cleaning this stuff up. Get our next bit, and we're just layering it, building it up, putting in our creases and folds, shaping, moulding, until we're happy. Alright, we'll get another bit over this end. Now it's up to you how many coats, how many layers that you do. I'll normally just use the paper towel until I get the shape that I'm happy with. This plaster that I'm using, being a builder's plaster, does dry extremely hard. Yes, mate, which is another advantage over plaster of Paris, which is still a little bit soft and porous when it's dry. So it doesn't really need too many coats. Alright, so I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is cover the entire thing with my plaster. And I just start at the top, let it run down over the face. And just keep pouring until it starts to run down there, and then smooth. Make sure it covers all the paper towel. Again, very messy job on the fingers. Just down like that. Get a nice coverage. The consistency of my plaster is between a cake batter and a little bit thicker. I find that to be the easiest consistency to work with. If you make it too thick, it does make this step very difficult. If you make it too thin, then it's not really going to adhere to your paper towel, and you're just going to end up with a big puddle of plaster right down next to your track, which you don't want either. Okay, so I've pretty much got all of that covered now. And yes, buddy. And like I said, this stuff dries very hard. So again, I don't need a big amount of it. And like I said, it's called Base Coat 45. So in the description, it takes 45 minutes for this to go off and set hard. I still normally leave it 24 hours just to ensure that it's dry, and so we can move on to the next step. So that's it. Very basic, very simple. Materials, very cheap and effective. Paper towel, plaster, water, newspaper. So feel free to comment. I'll try to clean a bit of this plaster off the ballast and that later on. See how we go. And when we come back, this will be all dry and hard, and we'll move on to the next stage in our scenery. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, feel free, ideas, suggestions. I hope you can take this away and adopt it onto your own layout, and it helps you. It just really shows the method that I use on my layout, and as you can see from the page, the effects that I can get. We'll do rock faces, we'll cover that, and some other stuff later on. But for now, just the basic landforming and making mountains. That's it in a nutshell. So again, thanks for watching, and happy modelling.